Deep Dive Film School makes no claim of ownership of the film footage used in this episode. The film footage is owned entirely by the copyright holders. Also, we're going to spoil the hell out of this movie, so this is your warning. Welcome to Deep Dive Film School!
This week we're going to get into that one scene from Boogie Nights.
Let's dive on in.
Oh yeah.
Alright everybody, I am Adam Sherlock.
And I'm Adam Palcher.
And we're back, baby.
Oh yeah, real life.
Real life. I've missed you so much.
It's been too long.
It really has been, though.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of seen each other. But yes, it has. In real life, doing the show together. Very excited about this. Also very excited about that we're starting a new segment this week. Super excited about the segment. We're going to hopefully make this a regular thing, but we're going to do basically scene essay construction breakdowns of certain scenes from certain movies. This week we are doing that one scene from Boogie Nights. What is that one scene, Sherlock?
So it's probably the most, not just tense scene in Boogie Nights, but maybe tense scene in a lot of movies I've seen.
Film history.
Yeah, it's just like, and I mean, and I will say, like, one of the interesting things about this new festival, or not festival, but this new segment, I guess, as we're doing, is obviously these scenes need context, which we'll be talking about.
Sure.
But then they can also stand on their own to serve their own moment. Now, in Boogie Nights, we build all the way up to this botched drug deal.
Oh yeah, we're at the Goodfellas point of the drug binge with Dirk and his friends.
Yes.
Right?
Like,
you know, he's already chewed out Jack on set because his dick doesn't work.
Yeah.
And you know, he's got this new druggy friend Todd.
Yes.
And Todd's the one who kind of initiates this whole, like, hey, I know this guy, who ends up being Alfred Molina's character, who is it's Rahad Jackson, I think is his name.
Right.
And they end up going to this house, and the opening of the scene is them pulling up in his tiny Corvette. They're all squished in the tiny Corvette, which is amazing.
Yes. And then
and they're already like coked up, right?
Well, and I think that this is after, you know, we've done so much setup of getting to know who Dirk is, and
Reed Rothschild. Underrated performance, John C. Reilly.
Yes, incredibly underrated, but so brilliant. And we know that these guys are dopes, right? And we know that
they just packaged up baking soda to sell this guy.
Yeah,
so they're already have a lot of tension in their lives, right?
Yes. Well, and like I said, they're dopes. They're not very smart people to begin with.
Sure.
And so as we can see this almost coming like a Greek tragedy from a ways away, where we're like, this is not going to end well.
But the way it unfolds is very unique, and I think a great one to start off this whole segment with.
Yes.
One, because I got the inspiration for this segment when Sister Christian was playing on the radio.
Really?
That would be a great idea for a segment. Just doing that one scene, and it made
song
me think of this scene.
Is locked to this scene,
Completely.
And like Alfred Molina in these little pair of like
it's amazing.
bikini briefs, and he's so skinny. He doesn't look like himself.
Here. Yeah, he really is, and he's honestly one of the generation's great actors. Like so good. But that song, I agree with you. It is locked into this scene, but you forget that Jesse's Girl and what else plays? I forgot what else plays, but like two other songs play other than Sister Christian. It's just when you walk in, so they're already tense. They don't want to be there long, and they just kind of want to like get in and get out. But this guy is like, no, hang out, guy, right? And so kind of not quite your classic drug deal here, but they all go in, and Todd has an alternative motive here a little bit, but the genius of this scene is, like you said, it's the masterful scene of tension, right?
Yes.
Intensity ramps up as soon as the door opens and you see this big piece of muscle.
Yeah.
You're like, oh shit, watch out.
Didn't you get vibes of
like they weren't expecting that guy to even be there.
No, and when he's the first person you see, I get vibes of True Romance.
Sure.
When he goes to
Dexter's
place,
Yep.
Right? Where it's the same thing, where it's like, you know, his motive, he's like, we're gonna go in there and we're gonna do this, and this is how it's gonna go down. And then the second they show up, it's like, oh, this was an incredibly bad idea.
Yeah,
right
away it's a bad idea.
It's a bad idea.
Then P.T. Anderson just does this beautiful, like, just rolling shot in through the hallway.
Yes.
And you see this little Asian kid lighting off firecrackers and Alfred Molina's turned around listening to Sister Christian so loudly.
Yeah. Well, and you don't, and you, I love that no one ever acknowledges the little Asian kid that's lighting off the M80s.
Oh, they do.
Well, but what I mean is, it's just that that's a thing that continues to happen, and that everybody else there is so high that they're not like, dude, you got to stop doing that in the house.
No, it's also an incredibly important part of the scene.
Yes,
him and his character in those firecrackers.
Yes.
And I actually think one of the most underrated parts of this whole scene, just the underrated aspect of the scene, is the audio and like the sound effects here, because like the way they crank up the Sister Christian, and the fact that he's just basically just like singing karaoke in front of them for half of the scene, which is hilarious. And I'm with him because I love both of those songs too. They're just sing along songs, but they're so high, like you said, and so he's already kind of like defaulted and out of it, and that makes you even edgier, right? And then you have all this shit, but the firecrackers, that continuous bang, bang through the whole scene,
which sound like gunshots.
Exactly, which sound like gunshots, which eventually happen here.
Yes.
Do you want to get into a little bit more?
Well, one thing I was going to say really quick is that, and I don't know if you're familiar with this, but it was the thing that really stuck in my brain from when I very first saw this movie in the theater, which is that obviously the Dirk Diggler character is loosely based upon John Holmes, right? The 70s porn star who was like massively endowed in this whole thing, and like ended up having a huge drug problem. Later in life, he contracted AIDS, and it sort of led to his death. But in the sort of downward spiral of his drug addiction, he befriended a character much like Thomas Jane's character of Todd, who was like, oh, well, I kind of run with this gang over here, and I know these guys, and that they're these drug runners and all of this. In the John Holmes version, it turned into what is known as the Wonderland murders.
Oh, sure. There's that
Val Kilmer movie. Great movie. Yes, too. Yeah. Wonderland's a great film. But that's based on this actual event. There was this home invasion.
And this is like a version.
And this is like a version of that. And I thought, and I didn't know when I first saw Boogie Nights, the first half of it is so fun, funny, and goofy that you do not think that we're really headed you get to know oh, well, here's this character, and she is estranged from her children, and you go, oh, okay, there's a little bit of dark themes in here, but there's so much goofiness in Boogie Nights that I thought, well, we're not really going to Wonderland, are we? And in that scene, it's because everything before it really has been dipping our toe into darkness here in a way that like you go, okay, wait, what is the tone of this movie exactly? That's the beauty of this movie, right?
I completely agree. How it can balance that serious drama, like part of you and the kid inside you wants to laugh because porn and dicks and sex
and like the bell bottoms and like roller skates and all that.
Yeah, the way the period piece of it for sure is a huge part of it. But like it is a goofy movie. You're right. The characters are goofy, but like the way that he makes it feel classic and dramatic.
Yes.
Right?
Well, and one of the other things I would say that's happening right as the tension is building up during Jesse's Girl, which is a crazy sentence to say. Right? It's not a song that you think, but it's like Jesse's Girl is blasting so loud.
Roller coaster that Alfred Molina takes you on.
Yes.
Through this whole thing, because you think he's like, okay, yeah, he's definitely high and into this song.
Yeah.
And obviously rich guy who's throwing money around or whatever.
Yeah.
But he then goes and smokes crack.
Yeah.
And it becomes even more unstable.
Yeah. And starts like kind of living out.
And then kind of just like talks about these mixtapes and oh my god, and gets like really angry for like a split second. If you blink, you could miss it.
Yeah, well, and then he starts kind of embodying the character in Jesse's Girl, where he's like, I want her so much. She's so. Why can't she be mine? And you're like, oh God.
And then to the part that you're hinting at.
So, one thing that I had completely forgotten about is how long Anderson pushes into Mark Wahlberg's face.
Yeah.
Pushes in, and we're watching the gears turning in his head. And what's amazing is, before this, it's been kind of hard to hear our other actors talking to each other over
the firecrackers,
the firecrackers, and how loud the music is. At some point, as Anderson's pushing into Mark Wahlberg's face, we get all the dialogue goes away. We see John C. Reilly leaning over and trying to talk to Mark Wahlberg, and we don't hear any of his dialogue anymore. And I'm like, what an interesting choice. And I don't think I realized how much of this entire scene is a push-in on his face while he's figuring out.
It was longer than I remembered.
Same here. And then he's like, nope, I don't want to do this. Let's go. Right?
Yeah.
It's such
the movie's
an
about
interesting
him,
term.
so we definitely need to see his point of view here, and that's super important.
It's just surprising.
I forgot, and what I thought you were building up to,
Oh, sorry.
so I apologize if I interrupted you there.
No.
Is that the mixtape stops and it has to change sides.
That's right.
Because there's this.
Forgot about.
Okay, so PTA
Yes.
PTA just continues to pile on the tension in this scene, and right, it just keeps going. And that's really what I learned from the scene. What makes it unique and special to me is just like he gets you to the point where it's like, oh yeah, that's uncomfortable, and then let's go one step more, and how about this?
Now
And
he's going to smoke crack.
It's just
now
an
he's
odd
gonna...
scenario too.
Yeah.
The whole scenario is weird. It's not your classic drug deal. Like, I mean, like it just seems a little looser, but like there's also like tension built in with how he shot it.
Yeah.
And anyways, brilliant scene.
I also feel like it's the size of the room that most of this happens in, with that weird backlit sort of rock wall behind them with the lights way back there. You're like, is that a hallway? Could someone else walk in at any moment? Like, there's a lot happening there.
Yeah.
And then, of course, with the crescendo being that Thomas Jane's character, Todd, is not leaving without getting this money.
He's got different plans in mind.
And his little speech there of like, no, we ain't fucking going anywhere. And that whole
safe in the fucking floor safe. And his whole thing.
That whole thing, and just like, and then like gunfire, and the whole plan goes ass backwards, and it turns funny again.
Yeah.
Even though it gets super bloody, it then turns really funny when our two heroes run out of the house back down to the Corvette, and they can't get it into the Corvette. They can't get it to start. They're pushing it down the street. And Alfred Molina just comes out with a shotgun,
Yep.
just like in his little bikini briefs, like
So good.
walking out in the street and just shooting randomly at their car while they're screaming and trying to push start the car, running as it's like both doors are open down the hill in this like ritzy neighborhood.
In this shitty Corvette that's
In the
banged up.
1980s, like
Beautiful.
coked out 1980s, right?
What a brilliant scene.
Absolutely.
And definitely the craziest scene in the movie, I would say.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think
Like, there's a lot of crazy shit that happens in that movie, but I don't think it's nearly as crazy as that scene. Not nearly as tense. And like you said, like, I love that you started off with, it's not the most tense scene in Boogie Nights. It's one of the tense scene I've seen in like decades or something, right?
I think it was one of those things that made you realize that P.T. Anderson was doing something different, right? And if you think about it, that scene actually is more in line with the rest of P.T. Anderson's career than the rest of that movie is.
Yeah,
There's
that's a good
very
point.
little other stuff. There's a couple moments in Punch Drunk Love.
He loves Tarantino, though. You can tell he loves Tarantino.
Oh, yeah.
Which I don't fault him for
No,
but
no.
he, like, it's kind of a Tarantino scene a little bit.
Oh, for sure. Just like, and then
So,
there's this kid
I
in the
don't
background
want to say
lighting up
I don't want to
these
say I've
firecrackers.
seen this before, because, and honestly, Tarantino's really good at tension too. If you think of like anything in Glorious Bastards, those important scenes in
man.
Glorious Bastards. So
That's gonna be at
so
some
maybe
point
I have
in our-
seen this before. I wasn't thinking I did, but yeah, maybe.
Listen, if we're gonna at some point in the future for this segment, we got to do the basement bar
hell
scene
yeah, it's
in
on my
Glorious
list. It's on my
Bastards,
list. Don't
right?
worry.
I mean, it's
Don't
like,
worry.
well, as long as I'm going out, old boy, I'd rather speak the Queens. So fucking
Michael
good.
Fassbender, so good.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Please like and subscribe if you like this new segment. If you want to keep watching, we got tons of stuff on YouTube. Listen on podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. Appreciate it, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, you guys.